Hello, everybody. Happy Friday and welcome to the VML, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast and Good Luck High Five. My name is Haiyue. I'm here with Kuro, and we are about to get into the top 16 of our Season 9 tournament. Kuro, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. I'm really excited to see how these games are going to go, and I'm really it's just really hype. It's a really big deal this week.
It is a really big deal. It's such a big deal. And, for all of our players, they've played a long season. It's been 7 weeks of division play. We saw the players that we're going to see today. They've battled through all of that, came out on top of their division or second in their division. So huge achievement to have made it to the playoffs. And last week we had the round of 32, where they already have survived a round of single elimination. And now here we are at the top 16. And Kuro, this is a pretty crucial week because this is the week where players are going to be locking up their regional championship and VML championship invites if they win.
Wow, the stakes are absolutely very high then.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about, everyone obviously wants to win the tournament. Everyone wants to get part of that prize pool. But really, when it comes to it, the goal of everybody playing competitive Magic is try and qualify for the next thing, make it to the next step. The VML being one of the coolest ways you can do that, of course. And for all of our players today, the chance to compete at their next regional championship, as well as in the VML championships, which are coming up later in the summer. And especially because the VML championships have 2 Pro Tour invites attached, so they can qualify straight to the Pro Tour playing just the VML Kuro.
Wow.
It's just going to be a dream come true for a lot of them.
I'm just speechless because there's just so much, and it's just so much on the line. It's just amazing.
Let's see if we can get a view of this week's metagame. We are playing Standard, which, by the way, is a fantastic format right now. And I'm always talking about this because everybody else is also playing Standard right now, given that it is the format for this cycle of regional championships, and it's the format for the Pro Tour coming up at PT Minneapolis in about a month's time. So a lot of attention is on Standard right now, but here at the VML, we know that this format is great. We've been playing this for the last, on and off for the last year and a half. And Rakdos Midrange finally making it at the top of the pile, Kuro. This is the first week, by the way, that Grixis hasn't been at the top of the metagame for, I think, possibly the entire season. What do you make of that?
I think it's amazing, actually. I think I'm so used to seeing Grixis, and paying very close attention to the counterspell mind games that are being played, paying close attention to the ratios of discard to counter magic and to removal spells, that to just take that entirely out of the equation when it comes to these black-red strategies, that they're going all in on just removal and discard and not caring about counter magic per se, at least not caring about playing counter magic. That is insane to me, actually. I'm very surprised that it's going this way.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen over the course of the last few weeks the different regional championships around the world that Grixis has just really been underperforming, putting up kind of these middling win rates and really losing out against the surge of more aggressive, more assertive decks like your Esper, like your green-white toxic, even stuff like mono red making a comeback. And I think, like for me, I think Rakdos, I understand it. I also am sad to not see Corpse Appraisers and or make disappears in these decks, but it makes sense to me to get more on the board, focus more a little bit on getting your opponent dead and trying to maybe just have a little bit better of a mana base as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole issue that I've noticed this in the past, but just the issue of not being able to play Invoke Despair, for instance, on turn 5. That's rough. And I've seen that affect a game in numerous ways. So I think this is the player's way of mitigating that.
Yeah, definitely. Rakdos Midrange, suddenly the headline of the top 16 metagame, but there are a lot of other decks here as well. Esper Midrange putting up 3 copies. This deck has been pretty dominant over the last week or so. I think a lot of people suddenly like the look of it going into these mid-range battles. Thalia, especially, being a particular weapon that they have. Rakdos Reanimator, of course, trying to do the Atraxa thing. Mono White is still hanging on there. And pretty interestingly to me, 5 people chose to bring some one-offs this week, including the likes of Simic Bogles, also mid-range, Grixis Reanimator, Domain Controller, and Azorius Toxic. Which, Kuro, why would you bring this kind of left field deck to such an important week?
Well, it may seem a little unintuitive to bring something that isn't as meta, but if you feel like you have a good sense for what you're going to be playing against, you can try to play something that's out of left field because it can catch your opponent off guard. And that can be extremely useful, particularly if you're very familiar with the strategy that you're bringing in.
I mean, well, hopefully we'll get to see a little bit of these interesting strategies as we go throughout the day. Let's have a look, in fact, at our first feature match coming up. And this one is pretty special. Okay, first of all, on one side we have Talia, and she has brought Azorius Toxic. Azorius Toxic. Well, we've heard of Green White Toxic, right? It's been everywhere. It won the Japanese RC. We're used to seeing venerated Rock Priest into Slaughter Singer, into Tyvarstan. Talia has decided, no, I am not going to do that. I'm going to bring 8 quenches. In fact, the deck is literally called 8 Quench in terms of the naming that Fate chose for it. And on top of that, I'm going to bring 4 Serum Snares, I'm going to bring 4 Experimental Auguries, and 4 Distorted Curiosities. This, I don't think anybody would have caught this coming in.
When I saw this deck for the first time, I was amazed because I'm so used to seeing the green-white variant that seeing this many counterspells in the main deck in a deck that is also playing Crawling Chorus of all cards in Skrell's Hive, I'm honestly at a loss for words to an extent. But in terms of strategy, I'm always looking at the counterspells. Like has been said, Haiyue did mention 8 quenches. Oh my god. It's a lot of quenches.
And, it's a lot of quenches.
The strength of Quench is that it's better in the early game, not so good in the late game. So I think that can work out with this strategy. And then sideboard with the Wanderers and the Memory Deluge, kind of quasi control late in after game 1. I think this will be interesting.
Yeah, and Talia certainly no stranger to winning games. They went 7-0 in the division portion, which is incredible. Like, that is an incredible achievement. Not very many people ever go 7-0. Many divisions are won with 6-1s or even 5-2s, and so that's a huge achievement. Winning through the top 32 as well. And Talia said something pretty interesting, by the way, Kuro. Talia said, Noor is uniquely positioned to metagame me, and Azorius Toxic is less vulnerable to being caught than other decks I could be playing. And as we go over to Noor's slide, I'm just going to tell you all that Noor and Talia are, in fact, in a relationship. Can you imagine, like, making it to the top 16 of such an important event, and then you're just queued up against your girlfriend? Like, that's crazy. That's insane. And so that's why Talia said that Noor was pretty well positioned to metagame against her. And let's see what Noor has brought. Rakdos midrange. Rakdos midrange. And in fact, if you look at what Noor told us, by the way, she expected Talia to play a hard control deck. So it's the complete opposite of what she expected.
Well, it's a hard control deck. You can tell that Noor is building a fair deck for a very specific purpose. And I think to an extent, it's still going to be able to address the blue-white toxic strategy. You have a lot of cut downs, which are extremely good. Bolt-Tide Harvester can kill stuff that you want. Graveyard Trespasser is like the bane of control's existence. And the fact that Talia's strategy can be potentially transformational to so I think Talia is a great example, even though the fact, like you said, Noor was expecting a control deck. Talia's deck is a very good example of an aggro deck built by a control player.
Yeah.
Because and this happens to me too, is I'm like, okay, I want to build an aggro deck, so let's do this. But I need to deal with what my opponent wants to do, so I have to play removal and counter magic. And then I'm like, wait, that's not actually something you have to do. But it may pay off for Noor here. Noor has obviously the 4 Fables. You have 3 Invoke Despairs and 1 Gix's Command. Gix's Command, fantastic card. The sideboard
Mm.
even has Vampire's Vengeance, an instant speed board wipe, which is incredible.
What? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'm excited.
Well,
I'm excited.
We'll see how and 4 Duresses in 75. This is going to be an interesting matchup for sure.
All right, let's go down to the action. I think we've spoken enough about these decks, and I cannot wait to quench my thirst for some good Magic gameplay. Kuro, by the way, has their head in their hands. Let's go down to the action.
How many times? How many times are we going to say that?
It's the VML. It's top 16. This is where we're at. Let's go down and see game number 1. We're going to have Talia, I believe, on the bottom half of your screen there with Noor on the top half. Double Skrelv, Make Disappear, Curiosity. That is a hand of Magic cards. And here is Skrelv coming down on turn number 1. Meanwhile, let's see what Noor's working with. It's going to be a cut down for Skrelv. Oh, kind of an expensive hand. Trespasser, Shieldred, and Double Invoke. What do you think of these hands, Kuro?
I think the hand that Talia has is a little bit light on threats, but if Talia is able to get in, then Faye can sort of pop off a little bit. Oh, there's a nice Crawling Chorus, but no third land. Noor's hand, in contrast, has definitely, like you said, a later game. And against Talia's ridiculous number of quenches, we're going to see here the power of Quench.
Quench number 1.
Quench number 1.
It's Quench Watch. It's Quench Watch 2023. I nearly said 2013. That's genuinely where my brain is right now. By the way,
Here we go.
By the way, Kuro, we also need to keep track of the poison, because I'm looking at those 2 copies of Distorted Curiosity in the hand for Talia, and if she can get Noor to that 3rd crucial poison counter, then we could maybe see some 1-mana draw 2 action, which of course we love.
Absolutely. Now, this is a problem. The Shieldred will break basically everything that Talia wants to do. And playing the Skrell's Hive instead of leaving up another Quench maybe prove to be problematic depending on how this game goes. It is going to counter this Invoke Despair, but Talia is not drawing the 3rd land. This is potentially extremely rough. Oh, Noor's attacking.
Wait, ooh, hello. All right, Noor's going to be coming in with the Shieldred, getting aggressive, maybe spotting, that fair opponent has stumbled a little bit on the mana base. So here comes the crackback. 4 poison counters already, passing it back. There is Bring the Ending, Quench number 3 ready in hand, as well as 2 copies of Distorted Curiosity. And here's Invoke Despair. It's just going to be yet another quench. I am sold, by the way. We're like 1 minute in. We're like a minute in, and I'm like, yes. Wait, hang on. Having said that, Talia is at 3 life. This is incredibly dodgy. Like, how can Talia survive? None of these creatures can block Shieldred in any meaningful way. Seed Core is going to activate. Noor's going to go down to 7. Okay, Crawling Chorus. That is a blocker. And of course, Skrelv's Hive is giving lifelink. So Talia recovering from that little dodgy situation, maybe, that she was in.
Yeah, the Skrell's Hive giving lifelink is actually extremely clutch here, because without that lifelink, the Crawling Chorus dies to a Braid, Shieldred hits in, that's game over. But the fact that the Chorus can block, and a Braid killing a blocker to attack in with Shieldred is no longer an option, actually. This Braid needs to target something in... Oh,
well, it can't, right? It can't target anything else because everything else is... Oh, I guess everything is an artifact, so I guess that works. But...
The Hive.
Oh my goodness! The Hive taking the 1 life away. That puts Talia down to 2, and Talia was not able to really do anything about it. That card draw is gonna be lethal. Good stuff here from Noor, spotting the line, understanding exactly when her opponent was going to die, and just making great use of that Shieldred. We're looking at the sideboard now. Kuro, give me your thoughts, feelings, and emotions.
I'm still debating whether or not it was right to play Skrell's Hive turn 2 or to hold up the Quench, because not counting Shieldred is obviously a big problem. I think that's why all of those Fading Hosts were sided in. That's super important. I would be tempted to side in Spell Pierce too, because being able to counter Invoke Despairs for 1 mana is just so powerful. But having to fight these board wipes, these Vampire's Vengeance, that's a problem. And Talia has to deal with that.
It certainly is a problem. We're going to see Go for the Throats come out. They don't do anything really in this matchup. Razor-Lash Transmogre, that's a dead card. That's coming out. As you said, the Vampire's Vengeance coming in. Archfiend of the Dross making it in, which is pretty exciting. It blocks, right? But also, you know, it's like that old meme. Like, he protect, but he attack.
Like it wins in 3 turns, I believe, with Skull's Hive out. Yeah, and the Gix's command as another board wipe. So Noor has 4 board wipes in fair deck. That is a problem that Talia has to deal with.
Yeah, we'll see how these draws work out. Like you said, that turn 2, you know, Skrow's Hive play not getting to counter the Shieldred. But to be fair to Talia, you know, she had a pretty rough draw, right? She wasn't able to find the 3rd land really for most of the parts of the game that mattered, and that ended up being pretty devastating. Let's go down to game number 2 and see whether things are going to work out a little bit better here for Talia. It's going to be Crawling Chorus on 1, and this is a pretty nice hand. Double Chorus, Hive, and Curiosities yet again.
Here's a Duress to take away the Hive, so that's out. But that Crawling Chorus is probably going to get in. I would even be tempted to try to push them in just to try to get that 3rd poison counter to get those Curiosities down to 1 mana. I don't know, though. Losing that Scroll's Hive is really, really important, and Noor having that Duress, super important, too. There's a Harvester.
Okay, here is Bloodtithe Harvester. And looks like Talia is going to be throwing away one of these Crawling Choruses. Noor is up to 2 poison. There's 1 away from the Corrupted that is needed. And sometimes you just got to cast a Divination. And you know what? Well, this Divination was pretty good.
Well, as you may know, Divination is in fact the most powerful blue card ever printed in this game.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree.
Hey, wait a second.
Wait, here's Serum Snare. That's going to be bouncing this Bloodtithe Harvester, and by the way, proliferating.
I love the Serum Snare here because it makes the proliferate, which is fantastic. It gets its Crawling Course in, and Curiosity now is 1 mana, as you can see, and 2 lands. Oh, well.
Yeah, that's not what you want to be seeing. Yeah, but at least Talia is enjoying them for turn off the top, so that is a little bit of comfort, should we say. Here is Noor with the Fable of the Mirror Breaker. Oof, what a find.
That's a nice Fading Hope. But here's the question now, does Noor go for the Invoke Disruptor?
Hello?
Oh, White Sun's Twilight!
Hello? White Sun's Twilight? What is happening? This is amazing. Wow. White Sun's Twilight coming in out of the sideboard for Talia.
Noor at 5 poison. Twilight makes 4 counters and gains 4 life. Otawara is going to bounce something. This is really interesting. Because if Noor's probably slamming the Invoke Despair. Oh no.
Just kidding. It's not going to be Invoke Despair. It's just going to be Bloodtithe Harvester holding up this Abrade as a piece of removal. And, you know, for Talia, let's see, doesn't have any interest in using that White Sun's Twilight this turn, because next turn, if they wait, then, you know, it's going to not only kill off the creatures on the other side, but still make all of those tokens as well.
This was definitely a risk on Talia's part because if Noor draws Duress, Talia's out of the game. And that's a very risky play to be making. But if Noor does not draw Duress, Talia wiping the board and making 5 tokens, it's just that is going to win her the game.
Oh my goodness!
This is a risk that you play when you're.
Let's go.
This is such a control player strategy right now. It's like
I love it so much. Yeah, I'm gonna be the low curve toxic aggro deck. By the way, I'm signing in 2 copies of a sweeper. And, you know, it's going to be pretty devastating here. It takes care of the 2 creatures on the other side, the flipped Fable of the Mirror Breaker, the Reflection of the Kiki Jiki, and that Bloodtithe Harvester. And you cannot really let your opponent untap with those, since the combination between the 2 is so devastating. Talia, by the way, having these mites completely destroyed by these removal spells, but still with 3 to work with.
I'm just really surprised that Noor decided to discard the Takenuma instead of the dual land that enters untapped. Because Takenuma could have returned a threat here and potentially saved Noor from death, but it's not going to happen.
Well, no, and as things stand, Talia is coming in with those mice from the White Sun's Twilight, and that is going to do it. We're actually going to see a deciding game here between these two players. Love to see it. You love to see these awesome sideboard strategies, these left field decks. Let's see how things change. Spells Pierce is going to come out maybe a little bit worse on the draw than the play, and then just a tiny amount of adjustment there for Talia. Let's see what Noor decides to do.
We didn't see a single quench that game. I'm very upset and very disappointed.
There were a lot of quenches in game one, though. There were a lot.
There were a lot.
I drank my fill of them.
Has your quench counter been quenched? Is that what's happening?
You cannot quench my enthusiasm for this card. Oh my goodness. The fourth Invoke Despair coming back in. Oh. So I think there's some discussion, right, as to whether Invoke is something that you would want against these Hive decks or not. Let's go down to game number 3. Duress, Double Harvester, and Gix's Command for Noor. That is a great hand.
But wait, hold on. Double Haunted Ridge means you have to decide between turn 1 Duress or turn 2 Harvester, because you don't get both. That is a choice. I would personally, on the play, I would be tempted to go Harvester, but if Talia has that turn 2 Skrell's Hive, the game could just be over, because Invoke Despair can deal with it, but there's that Gix's command.
But that's so long, that's so far in the future. So yeah, Noor decides to go with the Duress, taking the maybe a little bit safer line, sees a hand of Crawling Chorus Scrub, quench Serum Snare, and just go with Curiosity. So this is a really sweet hand for Talia as well. And ultimately, it's going to be the Curiosity that hits the bin, although Thoughtseize Bug alert. Second one comes off the top.
And why does this always happen? I feel like this. I totally understand this. Ooh, that's an interesting cut down. I understand why it's being done, but it's there's another quench.
Love to see it. I mean, if you're a quench fan, obviously.
If you're a quench fan. Wait, Noor's playing around. Noor's playing around the quench.
Oh, Noor played beautifully around the quench that we know is in Talia's hand. And here is Skrell's Hive. It is going to be coming down Talia yet again, not finding fair third land drop. And Noor sees the opening. It's going to play out both of these Blood Tithe Harvesters. And that is pretty big game here now.
That is so rough. Again, not drawing that third land. That is going to hurt so much because it's 23 lands in this deck is what this is. So, and there's a Vampire's Vengeance, the instant speed board wipe.
So we are going to see Blood Tithe Harvester being bounced by this Serum Snare in the end step. Noor holding up that Vampire's Vengeance, as you said, an instant speed kind of Pyroclasm type effect.
And here it is.
It's just gonna, okay. And by the way, it doesn't kill the Blood Tithe Harvester, which is a vampire. Oh my goodness, this mana. I know, this lack of mana is just really heartbreaking here for Talia. Just has to pass the turn back, sitting back on the threat of this Make Disappear. And Noor says, you know what? If you want to sacrifice your one creature, I'm okay with it.
I would be tempted to, but it's probably not the best play. Oh, Noor's, there's so many, like, just needs one more, right? One more poison counter, one more land.
Many
There's
situations.
The land. Skrelv is nice, but it does not block, which is a problem. We'll have to see if that matters. Noor may go for the Gix's Command here to bait out a quench, hoping that the second one will resolve. So we'll have to see.
Okay, well, the first one, Noor did know about that first Make Disappear, so that is going to hit the first Gix's Command. Now, it's going to be the attack. Okay, Talia just has to take it. None of these creatures can block, and Talia's sitting at 4 life, getting through for 3 poison, Noor up to 5. Here is curiosity. Let's see what Talia can fading. Okay. So Talia has found a fading hope plus a crawling chorus. And now Noor, just with the Geeks command, has 4 bloods to work with. That is so much blood.
The question is, does Noor... Yeah.
I mean,
Noor
this
has
is
to do
forced,
that.
right? This is forced. The ending has to be used on the Skix's command. Otherwise, it's just GG. Away it goes. And Talia can make 1 block if Noor decides to attack. But if Noor attacks, that's 5 damage on the crackbacker.
No, because the scrolls... Oh, wait, no, because the whole chorus has lifelink. Oh my god, actually this works. Okay, I thought
because the chorus has life.
Talia was dead. I can't count.
Well, because Noor can sacrifice one of the harvesters, right, to take out the chorus. The token has lifelink but can't block, and then Talia would die in upkeep.
But look, Noor has gone to the combat phase.
Oh my goodness!
Thinking about that, I think Noor is waiting. I think Noor just realized what they did.
My goodness! The tiniest misstep from Noor Singh, who's an incredible competitor, has been, just an absolute mainstay of every single VML season they have played. And this is... Wait, but this isn't lethal.
It is almost lethal, but it's close enough to lethal that...
but of course the harvester has to trade because of the seed core. Oh my goodness.
Correct, yes.
My goodness. That is so close. Let's go back over to Noor. Noor needs to find something, some kind of mass removal effect. Is it Vampire's Vengeance? No, that's Archfiend of the Dross. I think that's it. Kuro, I think that's it. Okay.
That is...
there's a few cards to see.
That is so rough to be like one turn, just that one critical turn, not sacrificing it, not attacking for 3 damage.
Oh my goodness! There's just a Shieldred
thing.
And that is it. Noor at 9 poison has no way of avoiding lethal damage here. This time, Shieldred is not going to be enough, and it is Talia that is going to be advancing to the VML Top 8, the VML Championships at the end of August, and of course, snatching up that RC qualification. What an incredible match that was. I'm flabbergasted. That's incredible.
You're not even regular gasted, you're flabbergasted.
No, flabbergasted. Yeah.
I think that match is just a really good example of how like the tiniest thing in a game can shape the way that a game goes. And just never discount one single life point or one single like moving to the next step in your turn. That was intense.
And that was intense. And it was the same in game 1 as well, right? Talia was really close. And then there was like a combination of the Shieldred trigger plus the Hive trigger. Like it was insane. That was insane. These are some awesome matches. Awesome games. I'm really glad we kicked off the broadcast with that one. And now we've got some adrenaline pumping. Like Kuro and I sat here kind of on the edge of our seats. This is fantastic stuff. Wow.
That was incredible. Wow.
Yeah, if that's a sign of things to come for the rest of this broadcast, I'm pretty stoked. Let's have a look at our next feature match coming up. On the one side, we have Duen. Duen has brought mono white mid-range Kuro, and yes, I can see.
Sorry.
Wait, what are you shouting for? Because there's a lot, by the way, to hype about this particular slide. My favorite part is when Duen says that if they click on the dog on the left side of the screen, it rolls over and asks for belly rubs. That's a crucial part of their strategy.
That was my favorite response for the questions, I think. That is so, I mean, obviously, yes, that's an important part of the strategy. I think there's nothing else to comment on for this deck, just that dog.
So yeah, and there's the deck itself, mono white mid range. We've seen this deck throughout this standard format, throughout the last couple of months. It has evolved somewhat. There have been versions with restoration, which this is one, versions without restoration, versions with 8 copies of Field of Ruin, which this is not, versions without 8 copies of Field of Ruin. And Duen has decided to come with this tokens kind of heavy version featuring 2 copies of Mondrak Glory Dominus, which, Kuro, this card can get really out of hand.
So I did want to mention the Mondrak on a serious note. Like, that's a really interesting choice because it works so well with the restoration tokens. It works really well with the Wandering Emperor tokens. It works really well with the only thing it doesn't work very well with, I think, is Elspeth, because Elspeth, it's a 4-drop, so Elspeth can't get it. But that doesn't really matter because it works well with all the rest of the token shenanigans that are happening. And giving it indestructible is really easy to do. And if you side in the depopulates, having an indestructible dude that does not die is just really great.
Okay, that's a pretty cool interaction. Yeah, I love it.
And then
okay,
but like you said earlier, no Field of Ruin, no Demolition Field. If Duen plays against something that has a really greedy mana base, this is going to be a rough matchup because those are usually pretty pivotal to messing up their mana base. Because you lose nothing.
Let's have a look at the other side of the matchup then and see who Duen is going up against. It is Filipa of the casting team.
Hey.
Filipa, not in the booth this week, but is on your screens nevertheless. She went 6-1 in her division, pretty insane achievement. And she has brought Rakdos Midrange, one of our 4 Rakdos Midrange players this week. And, I feel a little bit, we talk a lot in the VML about metagaming your opponent. Every week you can look at what your opponent has been playing the previous week. So you can, even in the top 16, top 8, you can go back over the history of what they've submitted and kind of figure out what you think they might be on. And Duen, I think, maybe read this correctly because Filipa said mono white is the one true bat matchup. IMO.
Oh, no. Filipa. Oh, jeez.
Which, it happens, right? It happens. And the metagaming is certainly part of it. Filipa's version of Rakdos Midrange, pretty standard, I think, pretty stock compared to some, most of the lists we see. 4 cut downs, 2 abrades, 4 go for the throats. Anything that stands out to you?
Absolutely. Honestly, not particularly. It seems extremely similar to what Noor brought in the last game. Really the thing that's probably the worth noting the most is the fact that the sideboard is slightly different. You still see the 3 duresses, you still have the Vampire's Vengeance, you still have Archfiend, but it is a little bit different. There's some disparity in like the way that the removal, so there's no extra braid, for instance,
right?
That sort of thing. So I'm really interested. It's generally the same strategy. Lots of good Invoke Despairs, lots of Gix's Command. I'm excited to see how this goes.
Okay, well, let's see if we can go down to the action. Filipa on Rakdos going up against Duen on mono white. Looks like we have just Duen's side of the matchup. Lay down arms, ossification, Loran, and Elspeth. That is a sweet hand when you know you're going up against Rakdos midrange.
Yeah, that is actually really rough for Filipa because that lay down arms is targeting a Bloodtithe Harvester. There it is.
You see Duen just hovering over it, cannot wait. But has drawn a little bit of another option, Reckoner Bankbuster. Do you like getting that down this time?
I actually do, because you can take 3 damage right now and then lay down arms and ossify something else. Even if you have to discard a card to like Graveyard Trespasser, ossification is really nice here. If there are no important 3-drops to play against, then you can just draw a card and just lay down arms that and just work with that. Oh wow, my tongue is just like terrible. Anyway, this Rakdos losing blue, not having counter magic, makes mono white much better against this deck because you can play board wipes, you can play planeswalkers, and you don't have to worry about them being countered. That's extremely important. And now Duen has this opportunity to use Bankbuster. Source Splashers can be totally cast on this Harvester.
Wow, Duen's probably not even going to go for it. Just going to hold on to the lay down arms. They are not threatened by this Bloodtithe Harvester at all. And yeah, it may be a source of pleasures, but it certainly is not instant speed. And Graveyard Trespasser, the follow-up now. Oh, a nice draw for Duen, finding that fourth source of mana. What do you think their priority is right now? Do they have to get rid of this Graveyard Trespasser?
Well, yes. In short form, yes, because there isn't enough time to get to the board wipe. Not yet, anyway. Farewell needs 2 more lands, and you can't let Grixis hit you twice like this, because that's getting into Invoke Despair range.
Right.
I honestly think that I would have laid down arms the Bloodtithe Harvester last turn, because when you're playing against Invoke Despair, you really have to think hard about how many Invoke Despairs can kill you, right? And if each Invoke Despair is 6 damage, it's true that 6 times 3 is 18, so if you're at 17 and 14, it doesn't matter. But if you sacrifice a token, that can take that down to 16, and then suddenly the difference between 17 and 14 really matters. There's an Afraid. No Invoke Despairs, actually. Wow.
Yeah, no Invoke from Filipa this turn. So Duen does have the space to just get this Elspeth going. Gonna tick down and find a wedding announcement among a bunch of other options. We did see Duen discard that Mondrag, by the way, earlier on. So maybe would have liked to see Mondrag on the battlefield when a wedding announcement comes out. But good thing for Duen is that they still get to make the token, although now this Invoke Despair feels kind of devastating.
Kind of. But Duen actually has a choice here. They can choose to get really ossification. And if they really think it's not that important to keep the Harvester under lock and key, they might just keep the wedding announcement around. I would be tempted to keep the wedding announcement around, because those tokens are going to block really easily.
Yeah, there it is. Bloodtithe Harvester comes back. The ossification is going to be the one that gets sacrificed. Back over to Duen. That wedding announcement will be making another token. And for those of you who are counting, by the way, Farewell mana is available, but not a lot on the battlefield right now. So Duen is going to pass it back, holding up this Wandering Emperor.
So I would actually, if I'm Duen, I would really like to see another Invoke Despair, because that would be completely blanked by the board state. Wedding Announcement is like the anti-Invoke Despair card, which is so nice. And then if you're capable of following it up with something good and preventing them from drawing extra cards, like you're preventing Filipa from drawing cards, that's really important.
All right, so Wandering Emperor comes down. It is going to take care of that Bloodtithe Harvester, but Filipa has a pretty nice follow-up in the form of the Graveyard Glutton. Since it is nighttime, it comes down. It's going to drain Duen for a couple of life, and Duen has a decision to make, because Farewell is looking kind of tempting now, given how annoying this Graveyard Glutton can be to get off the battlefield.
I think normally I would agree, and if the draw was not Wandering Emperor and it was like a land or something, I probably would be tempted to do so as well. But because the Emperor is in the hand and all your creatures are getting a buff this turn, that Trespasser actually can't attack anymore, because you can just block with your tokens. So this is pretty pivotal.
Okay, all right. Yeah, the wedding announcement flipping is pretty big news here for Duen. Those little 1/1s have now become 2/2s, and that Samurai a 3/3 with Vigilance, putting up quite a force to be reckoned with when you're thinking about how to deal with this Graveyard Glutton. Filipa's going to go digging with that blood token. Kuro, what's going through Filipa's? What is she looking for?
If I were Filipa right now, I would be looking for more Invoke Despairs and Giggs's command. I would also be looking for Fables, because copying the Graveyard Glutton is extremely important. But I don't. Shield Dread would obviously be pretty good, but against Mono White, Shield Dread's actually not that good, because obviously you have the board wipes. This is a great play, by the way, making it a 3/3 so that the total power toughness is 6, so cut down doesn't kill it.
That's nice. Okay, all right.
This is a reason why you might want to kill the token before the wedding announcement flips, because if you kill it after it flips, that is always an option. The question is...
here comes the attack from Graveyard Glutton. And Duen is just going to throw everything in front of it. You know, don't try and leave yourself open for a 2-for-1. Just throw every creature in front of it. And Duen is saying, I don't care about any of these guys. You can kill any of them. There it is. The go for throw. Is there another instant speed? There isn't. So Graveyard Glutton is going to go down.
I think at this point, Duen is winning the game. 100%.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not 100%. We'll say 90%. 90%.
Duen's certainly ahead on the battlefield. I think Filipa really looking for something pretty impactful, right? Like a Giggs's Command or another Invoke Despair, maybe to take care of this Wandering Emperor, plus the announcement manages to channel Soken Zen. That is going to be a couple of tokens, but Duen is just on a tear with this Wandering Emperor, able to keep making these attacking samurai, and they have Vigilance.
There's a cut down for the token, but those 3/3s are too big. Wow. And Filipa can no longer have Shield Risen out because that Destroy Evil is just so nice to his hand. Reclamation Stage might get played here just as a 2/1 Vigilance.
It is? Yeah, those are not artifacts. Nope, they're spirits. A mistake that many have made before.
Oh, well, actually.
Oh, well, there's that one is an artifact, but it can't block. So, swings and roundabouts.
It's also, yeah, and if Lauren did kill it, then the Transmograt would just get returned anyway. So it doesn't really matter either way. Ooh, Reliquary for 1 card. Okay.
Finds another Plains, and here comes the attack. So Transmogrant, that one's not blocking. Filipa's just going to take it all. She says, I have this board state. I'm going to try and hold on to it. Maybe see if I can find some kind of interaction for what you're doing. And then as we get towards the latter parts of this particular game, try and make something of it, especially with that Razor Lash Transmogrant. There is Shieldred, and that Kuro, as he predicted, is the Destroy Evil straight away. And that's going to do it. Filipa scoops things up here in game number 1. Now we're having a look at the sideboard. What do you like here, Kuro?
Well, this deck is already favored a lot against Rakdos because it really card advantage is better than Rakdos, and you can blink a lot of the removal because of your tokens. I would honestly probably side out the ossifications just because they died in Invoke Despair. I do like siding in the what is it that was just sided in? Oh my god, dang it, I missed it. But I think siding in Sunset Revelry on the draw is potentially fine. Although that didn't happen. Siding it in on the play is a lot better though. But right now I think it's honestly fine.
Duen is going to keep this hand of double Destroy Evil plus Restoration plus Elspeth. So a little bit more of a reactive hand. Duen is on the draw, but these Destroy Evils are nice, but they do not get rid of the Blood Tithe Harvester that is currently on the battlefield.
But what does get rid of Blood Tithe Harvester? 3/4 Restoration of Aganjo.
That's true. I love this card, by the way. We talked a little bit earlier on about how there's different kinds of mono white, and some of them play the Restoration, some don't, some play a couple of copies. But I certainly had a lot of fun casting Restoration of Aganjo and getting ossifications back from the graveyard. Go for the Throbbing Pit. Oh my goodness, no third land for Filipa.
Oh, that's really rough. And Aganjo number 1, Aganjo number 2 guarantees 2 more lands for Duen. And I believe that's a wedding announcement too. So
it is.
Not only, so a land is coming on the battlefield, another land is coming on the battlefield, and a farmhand comes in.
Goodness.
So
that's a land. There's so many lands. Oh my goodness. And Filipa just having to keep coming in with this Blood Tithe Harvester. We don't know what's going on in Filipa's head, but I bet you it's just stacked, right? There's always the way when you're mana screwed. You're just looking at these awesome spells in hand, and unfortunately for Filipa, not really able to develop any of them. Meanwhile, Restoration is going to keep doing its thing, putting the farmhand back on the battlefield, getting another Plains, and it's time for wedding announcement.
There is a wedding happening soon. Here's the announcement. I think Filipa's holding probably some Trespassers and some Fables. Definitely a Fable, at least one Fable. Because you usually keep that risky hand because a Fable is going to help you get that mana. Let's see if this is correct. And in this situation...
There it is. Fable of the Mirror Breaker. It's going to come down. And, Bloodtithe Harvest is coming in. Duen is down to 11 life. That is not. Duen does have to be a little bit careful. You can kind of get juked out by these decks sometimes, especially when you think about Shieldred or other life drain effects invoke, as you quite rightly mentioned earlier. The first Destroy Evil is going to go on that Fable. But now this 3/4 is kind of a problem.
Invoke Despair is just not on Duen's radar, I think, just because of all the mana screw that Filipa has been experiencing. Normally, if Filipa had been playing a land each turn, Invoke Despair is obviously a threat and should be taken into consideration. But right now, it's nowhere near. So Obliterating Bolt's going to come in, which is fine.
That's nice.
Shaman comes in, multi-block with tokens. No more mana for you. Duen is playing the Mana Denial. Interesting.
Okay, so Goblin Shaman's going to go down. Bloodtithe Harvester into Bloodtithe Harvester. Filipa, Filipa has been kind of stymied by the lack of lands, but she's done a great job of pressing the board presence, keeping that pressure up, making sure that her opponent is unable to really get a foothold in terms of creatures on the battlefield. Let's see what this Elspeth can find.
Ooh, that second wedding announcement is so tempting.
Okay. Yeah, it's gotta be, right? Gotta be. There it is. And that's 2 2/2s.
Yeah, that is 2 2/2s. We are all, in fact, ballerinas today.
In the UK, there was this there was an archbishop called Desmond Tutu, and that was an off-made joke. Archfiend of the Dross. This is a pretty scary threat. Or it would be.
Yeah, it would be. If not for the fact that Duen is playing a playset of Destroy Evils. Probably meant for Shieldreds, but this is just as good.
Okay, alright. So Archfiend of the Dross is going to go down. And we're going to see Elspeth tick up now.
And fun fact, giving Farmhand +1/+1 activates Coven! So, flying. Okay. There it is. Very
Farmhand nice. Is going to flip over to become a 5/5 thanks to all of those counters and buffs, as well as the Coven being active. And here comes another Farmhand. And honestly, every time I watch this matchup, it just seems so rough. I know Filipa has had trouble with the mana, right? She's like not really being able to develop in the way that she would have liked. But these mono white decks, especially with the multiple wedding announcements, just put out creature after creature, and it makes it so tough for Rakdos to get through.
Yeah, because a lot of Rakdos' removal, Invoke Despair can deal with enchantments, but there's so many enchantments in Duen's list that it's honestly not that bad. And then just all the tokens, the critical mass of tokens, combined with the fact that if you pump them enough, they escape Gix's command. That's so important. And this Shieldred is not even important anyway, because Farmhand can flip, and you can just give that a counter too, and you have 10 damage in the air. That's like double Baneslayer Angel.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna see that Farmhand flip right now. The ability of Elspeth to put lifelink, or to put flying on these creatures, and of course they have lifelink already once they flip, is so gross. Just saying, I'm going to ignore the ground entirely. Here comes this massive attack in the air, and honestly, Duen's thinking about just sending.
Interesting. Oh yeah, because if Shieldred blocks, then that is going to die from Wandering Emperor. Hey.
Oh my goodness, the Wandering Emperor flashing in combat trick mode. Filipa says, good game. And it looks like her prediction of this being a bad matchup did play out that way. Duen on mono white midrange is going to be advancing to the top 8 of season 9. Good stuff there from our mono white player. I mean, what a dominant performance.
Yeah, I mean, mono white is extremely scary to play against, and it's probably one of my better matchups as blue-white control, but that's because I play a lot of farewells. And the thing is that Rakdos midrange doesn't have that opportunity to just get rid of all of the enchantments, all of the things, and if there's a Planeswalker out and it resolves, and you get a free wedding announcement, that's just a huge
it's insane. It's insane.
Yeah.
And as you quite rightly pointed out, the lack of those counter spells from something like a Grixis, meaning that mono white is just free to just play out whatever spells they want without the fear of having them countered, has been pretty key. All right. Well, we have seen 2 of our matches for the evening. They've both been pretty exciting. And we are going to take a little break in the middle. When we come back, we will have our other 2 feature matches for the top 16 round of VML Season 9 coming up. Do not go anywhere. We'll see you in a few minutes. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to coverage of VML Season 9, sponsored by Wizards of the Coast and Good Luck High Five. My name's Haiyue. I'm here with Kuro. And Kuro, every time I say VML Season, I literally have to stop myself because it's still incredible to me that we are in Season 9 of this project, this league, this community, this everything. Like, we started out for those of you who don't know, we started out back in 2020, literally the beginning of the pandemic. It was a terrible time to start anything. And season 1 was like 24 of our friends. It was like 24 people who kind of knew each other, and we just were like, let's play some Magic. And now, you know, we are where we are, 128 players every season, fighting for regional championship invites, fighting for VML championship qualifications, you know, towards Pro Tour qualification. So stuff has been blowing up here at the VML. We love it, and we hope, of course, that all of you out there will join us and come along for the ride as well. Okay, cool. More Magic.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Let's see who's next on our feature matches for this evening for the round of top 16. It's Brittney. Brittney, you may know her as Brittney MTG. I know she has a pretty popular Twitter feed, as well as some cool stuff going on in this Reanimator deck. Now, you know, we watched 2 red-black decks already, Kuro, but this one is kind of different.
I love this. I think Atraxa is a fantastic card. I think it's really cool. When you land it, it feels so good to be able to draw 5 to 7 cards. And
right, and it just really has so many keywords on it, right? Like flying, like vigilance. Why would anyone give this card vigilance? That just seems crazy. Anyway, you know, that's fine. I know the fine folks in Wizards, they know what they're doing, and it has become the premier reanimation target for so many of these strategies. And Brittney coming with probably one of the most popular versions, red black. What is this deck trying to do?
Well, it plays similarly to red black midrange, actually, which I think was what makes it really strong. We've seen Reanimator decks in the past that are very glass cannon-y type, where they try to get the Reanimator target as their main thing. But this deck actually, I think, is really a lot more flexible, because you still have your Bloodtide Harvesters, you still have your removal like Cutdown, you still have Fable, but instead of maneuvering into card advantage, you're maneuvering through, and you're really taking advantage of that second ability on Fable, where you can discard a card. And when you discard a major threat, Reanimated with Cruelty of Gix, after tutoring a card and ripping their best spell out of their hand, that's just a lot of value and insanely good for your board state.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. All right. And Brittney says, you know, she's determined this time because she got metagamed out of her last top 16, and she's not going to let that happen again. Let's go up to the other side and see what Brittney is facing. Oh, Brittney is up against Domain Control. I love this deck, by the way. I absolutely love this deck. It has been brought by BLMMM. They came 5-2 in division number 15. It's their first time playing in a VML league, so congratulations for making it this far. It's a fantastic achievement for the first time through the event. And they say Kaya and the Wandering Emperor are great in this matchup because, you know, they're also playing Atraxas. And he says, if Brittney reanimates my Atraxa, somehow I can get it back with both of them. I was like, which is just insane. I am really looking forward to seeing some shenanigans happen in this matchup.
I'm just really excited to be casting for a control deck for my first time in this.
Yay!
It's actually happening.
There's not been a lot of control this season, for sure. It's been a mid-range fest.
I absolutely adore this deck. I think the use of the briefcase plus the Vorak to ensure that you get your mana you need. I think the use of Leyline Binding of Ossification are fantastic. I think Herd Migration is actually a really interesting card to be using.
I love Herd Migration. It's so cool.
Glissa, excuse me, but just Glissa as a value engine.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a lot of just good value. And, you know.
It's great.
It's cool. I love it.
Okay, all right, let's head down to the action and see what is going to happen here between Domain Control and Red Black Reanimator. We have Brittney's view on your screen for you, and this is a kind of a nice hand here for Brittney. Cut down, go for the throat, 2 cruelties, and Atsushi, the Blazing Sky, which is a pretty innovative piece that Brittney has brought for this list. But, you know, that's a lot of removal, and you do not want a bunch of spot removal again. Oh, no. Oh no, she going down to 4?
Yeah, because there's a 2-lander with like no 2-drops, then 2 1-landers in a row. That
Oh my
is
goodness.
really unfortunate.
Oh
So
my
Brittney is going down to
goodness.
4. However, the cool thing about playing against control actually is that you're not actually that far off. You can still keep a hand that's like 6 lands, and you might be
Mm.
okay because control isn't going to pressure you that early.
All right. So Brittney, oh my goodness, there's the cut down and go for the throat, which she mulliganed away in that 7 earlier on. So she does not want to see these draws coming off the top. Celestis down for her opponent, and Atsushi the Blazing Sky, really the one hope that Brittney's holding on to.
Absolutely. And the issue is that there's so much exile in BLMMM's deck that he's just going to get that down. Atsushi is not going to get any value to Brittney. This is rough.
Yeah, because, his deck is playing a bunch. Oh my goodness. Cruelty
Yikes.
is pretty appropriate
Double
for
yikes.
what is being suffered by Brittney. Wandering Emperor coming down as well, making that 2-2. Is there any way out, Kuro?
In this particular game, I highly doubt it. Because the problem is Brittney just doesn't have. Brittney has literally not played a single non-land card, and casting removal on these tokens is just really horrible for card advantage purposes because that Wandering Emperor is 3 tokens at bare minimum.
Right.
This is a big problem.
Wow, Brittney is going to have to use these cut downs though. She decides that she doesn't want to get too far behind on board. Really hoping to draw that 4th land coming into this turn. Can she find it? There it is. Oh no! Oh no, it's a Blackleaf Cliffs.
Ugh. I actually think the best draw for
Brittney.
I think the best draw for Brittney is actually Fable right now, not a land.
Okay.
Because Fable adds to the board state and can let you discard stuff like those removal spells that are not helping you. It can potentially be good, and it just draws you through your deck, which is exactly what this deck wants to do. Reanimator, that's just how that works. But this is really rough. Oh, that Lauren though. Oh my god. So Fable did come down.
Yeah, I mean, Fable would not have worked. Wandering Emperor gets to go up on this Vorag, and BLMMM is just doing exactly what their deck wants to do, which is play out all the lands, make sure that everything is, going swimmingly with the mana, and they're looking to set up something big like an Atraxa or a hard migration. Meanwhile, Brittney has found a Fable, but does she just want to play out Atsushi this turn?
I think you have to risk playing out Atsushi and just hope that BLMM does not run one of her 7 exile spells.
Unfortunately, though, yeah, there it is, Leyline Binding. And there's not a lot in Brittney's deck that can really deal with it, right? Because these red-black Reanimators, they're not really playing the invokes that our other mid-range decks are playing. So this is a big attack in, and of course things did not go very well for Brittney this game at all. Having to mulligan down to 4, finds the 5th land. Can Cruelty of Kicks really do anything for her
though? Let's see here. If Cruelty lands and it's on 1, if you look at BLMM's hand and there is in fact an Atraxa, discards Atraxa, 7 damage. That's Brittney's at 4. I don't think this works.
Right, and Brittney, I think Brittney just did the exact same maths that you did there, because she's opting to go for the Fable of the Mirrorbreaker, maybe trying to make a token for blocking, or trying to go deeper and dig for some. Oh my goodness, Otawara, and it's not even on the token, it's just on the Fable itself.
That's a really interesting choice. Oh, because ossification kills the
token. Okay, gotcha. Right. That's yeah.
This allows Brittney to get a second Fable, which is actually pretty important. And this Go for the Vote is probably going to kill the Vorak because it's more damage. I think this might be better for Brittney now, because that Cruelty. Oh, checking the yard. Yeah, there's nothing to reanimate. That Cruelty though.
Well, can you reanimate? Oh wait, but if Brittney kills the Loran, can't she just cruelty and reanimate the Loran and kill the binding?
That's true. That's interesting. Okay, I think
Okay,
Brittney's gonna do that.
all right. I'm down. I'm here. We were here for shenanigans from the get go. So here is the
Yes,
Celestis. It's night.
Honk shoe, honk shoe.
Is it gonna be a good night for Brittney in game number 1 here in our round of top 16? Go for the throat the draw once again.
That is a really nice go for the throat, because if you kill that Vorak, then BLMMM has no board state, and I think Brittney's going to go for it. And it's worth mentioning that this is a domain control deck, but there are no there's no counter magic in it.
Oh, there's no counter magic?
I did not see any counter magic in the 75.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no counter magic. It's all duress and removal. So there's no reason to hold stuff if you think it's going to get countered.
Okay, so here comes the attack with the Vorak. Brittney has to go for the throat ready. It's gonna just be safe. Go to block. Oh, hello. Okay.
I think this is to play around Atraxa, I think. Because Brittney's number one goal is to get Atraxa into the graveyard. Because if Atraxa is played on BLMMM's side and then Brittney can kill it and immediately reanimate it, that is such a large tempo swing. It's really hard for BLMMM to get back from that.
Okay. So there was no Atraxa that turn. So Brittney does end up killing the Vorak. Here comes the Celestis. BLMMM gets to have a look at the top of his deck, loot away something that maybe isn't serving them very well. Still has the Wandering Emperor on board, online, has that 2/2 token as well. What a power move, by the way.
What?
I don't need this farewell. Who needs it? Get out of here. Get out. I'm the aggressor now.
Oh my god. Okay.
And what can Brittney find? Okay, so Brittney can reanimate, I think it's a Loran or a Vorak. Is this Upkeep for Seiju?
Yes, it is. Right. That's interesting. I like it though, because it messes with the discard and draw. If Brittney magically draws Atraxa, well, didn't magically draw Atraxa, but if she did, that would be a problem.
Right. Okay, so let's see what she decides to do here with the cruelty. It's gonna be that Loran that we talked about, and it this is so sweet, by the way. Cruelty of Gigs is such a sweet card. I love reanimate effects that can go to either library, to either graveyard, if that makes sense. And Atsushi is back on the battlefield. Brittney somehow has hung on from having mull to 4 in this game, number 1. And now with a reasonable board state. Now, you know, for BLMMM, they're still working with the Wandering Emperor, right? They're still working with, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. That's the Eternal Wanderer. And okay, yeah, and it's like you said, Kuro, everything in this domain deck exiles.
Fun fact about Eternal Wanderer, by the way, the thing you exile comes back under its owner's control. So at any time, BLMMM can just decide, I'm going to give myself Lauren back.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
Yeah, it's good.
That's insane. Okay, so Loran could just be coming back. But Brittney also finds a good card. Shieldred is down. And that's going to mean that, you know, BLM is going to find it difficult to get rid of all of these blockers, at least just with what he has going on board.
Absolutely.
Now, I think we're still relatively... I mean, we would still relatively say that BLMMM is in the winning board state, right? With both of the Planeswalkers active and with the Celestis down as well, being able to look through the deck. Let's see what he decides to do. Is it just going to be wipe the board with Wanderer?
I don't think so. Oh, I don't know. I would be tempted to wander and get back the Lauren just so that Brittney doesn't have it. But then again, that Atsushi needs to stay off the field. This is a game state. This is certainly
This is certainly one of the game states of all time. Okay, but so okay, all right. So it is going to be the down tick on the Eternal Wanderer, and presumably what Brittney can do here is okay, but not nice, but down the house. Brittney can
a good draw. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, I mean, Brittney can block this 3/3, but can she? Because I think the Wanderer has still not activated yet this turn, unless I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I'd be really tempted to just wipe the board here because now that Eternal Wanderer is at a state where you can kill.
Oh, never mind. Never didn't have it. That is ossification. Okay, Brittney goes down to 2. Does Burn Down the House go to Planeswalkers?
Yes, it does.
Oh my goodness! What? Oh my goodness! You have me at 2, and I'm gonna just kill both of your creatures, both of your Planeswalkers. Here's Kuro's briefcase, which Kuro, I can tell, is very excited to see. It makes a 1/1.
What? You know what's amazing about Kuro's briefcase is when it's Ancestral Recall on an artifact. Just saying.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love Ancestral Recall? Oh my goodness.
Or you can just be wondering if that works too. This is lethal, actually. Token and then pump the token.
Yeah, that's right, because the Wandering Emperor can just pump the 1/1 to a 2/2. And that
there's a Memory Deluge in the graveyard. Nice.
That's gonna do it. You know, you have to hand it to Brittney, I think. She hung on really well in that game, right? I thought it was over on turn 1. Like, I was like, Malta 4, that's not gonna happen. But she really made a good job of it.
I agree completely. That was a lot. That was...
Yeah, but ultimately, though, we are going to see BLMMM with the domain control list coming out on top in this game number 1. And Brittney thinking about the sideboard, looking very carefully through what her opponent did in that last game. We see a Shieldred coming in. We see, you know, maybe I expect we're going to see some of this spot removal maybe hit the board.
I would really be surprised if Brittney doesn't side in Trespassers, because Trespasser is like the bane of Controlled existence. Making all the removal 1 extra card cost is actually so vital and pivotal. And if you make them discard an Atraxa, then that could be theoretically insane. Siding and removal spells is Brotherhood's End is pretty good for dealing with Wanderer. Go for the Throat's kind of okay. But I am really surprised that the Trespasser is not just snap getting put in. Wow.
Okay. I mean, Brotherhood's End also has some like utility against herd migration, right? Like
that's true. Yes.
I've been herd migrationed out a lot in this format. I can tell you, those elephants or whatever they are pretty scary. And we see Brittney with the keep this time. Full 7 cards, Duress, Harvester, Fable, 1, 2, and 3. That is the curve you want to see if you're in Brittney's set.
And the lands do, in fact, lend to that 1, 2, 3 curve.
Yeah, nice Blackleaf Cliffs to start off with, Haunted Ridge and Swamp as well. And we get to have a look at what BLMMM is working with thanks to this Duress. It's Ossification, Memory Deluge, and Kaya. What a nice hand for them. And what are you taking here?
That Kaya is so dangerous. If that lands and it has Hexproof as a Planeswalker,
oh good luck trying to get
it. She takes the ossification anyway.
Okay, all right. Well, her curve is pretty low, right? So it makes sense. She has to like try and get in and try and make sure that she can get her opponent down to a small enough life total. But I'm with you. That Kaya was pretty scary to me also. Let's see what Brittney can do here. It is going to be Blood Tithe Harvester coming in, Fable of the Mirror Breaker ready to come down.
I think this makes the most sense, though, because Brittney is playing this as a normal Rakdos mid-range player, which is something that this deck has totally the agency to do so. And BLMMM has kept a very, very, very slow hand. And while this life gain will help, the wipes that BL Triple M has in access, it has access to, like, not that much actually. There's a Wonder.
I think there's some. There's Wanderer and there's since they depopulate, yeah, 2 depopulate in the main, and yeah, that's it. So okay, all right. So there's not actually a lot of sweepers. There's like 3 or 4ish in the whole 75 for him. So that's pretty. Like, I think Brittney can feel like she can at least develop a little bit, right? Maybe get his shielded down. Maybe get a second. Is that a Plaza of Heroes? I did not realize these lists were playing Plaza. That's so sick.
Yes, it is.
Oh my goodness. I love Plaza. Like, I mean, I hate Plaza of Heroes because I have been got by it in Esper so many times, but I love to see it being used in these lists to protect the Atraxa, protect the Shieldred. Pretty nice addition.
Absolutely. So the question here now is, do you play around depopulate or not? Because if BLMMM has depopulate, suddenly the game becomes more of a 50-50. But if BLM does not have it depopulate, which he certainly doesn't have it this turn.
There's no depopulate. Okay.
This is a big tempo swing.
I mean, if Brittney gets to untap with this reflection, that's just going to be insane, right? Like, that's going to be pretty difficult, I think, if you're on the other side of the battlefield to deal with. But let's see what... Oh, that's not going to do it. Yeah, that's not going to do it. And Brittney is going to even things up here with the 1-2-3 curve out of Rakdos, playing just as a straight-up mid-range deck. And we're going to see a decider here to figure out who is going to snatch that RC invite and this place in the VML Championships.
So now Brittney is on the draw, which is extremely important because that tempo that you were expecting is no longer as present. I'm wondering if those stress bastions will now be brought in. Karn's Silex is being brought in.
What? Karn's, what is happening? Okay, so for those of you who maybe don't know the words on Karn's Silex by heart, how could you? It's 3-mana artifact, comes in tapped, and players can't pay life to cast spells or to activate abilities that aren't mana abilities, and you can pay X and tap it to destroy. Okay, so you can just kill it straight away. You can just pop it straight away for tokens if you like.
Yes.
For 0. Well, I guess not straight away because it comes in tap, but you know what I mean. Yes. It's pretty mana efficient.
Yeah. You generally need to play I tried playing Silex. In the control decks that I've tested with, playing Silex is difficult because you play it and your opponent can immediately see it coming, so they just kill it, or they don't.
Right.
BLMMM has 4 copies of Leyline Binding and a Farewell, and so it's like, well, the Farewell's gone now, but there's a lot of ways that BLMMM can deal with this. So I'm wondering how if this will at all be relevant.
I'm really fascinated by BLMM's hand, by the way, because there's no black mana for that Glisser. I was just going to say there's Archangel, Atraxa, Shieldred, Glisser, so doing a lot of legendaries, but no black mana for the Glisser to come down, and that is devastating for BLMMM. Really, really needs to find the ability. Okay, there's a Vorak. There's maybe going to be a land... Well, there's likely going to be a land revealed, but we'll see if... Was that a whiff? Oh my goodness. A whiff on the Vorak. Oh, this is just a nightmare scenario for the domain control pilot. Vorak is on the battlefield, but now Brittney gets to basically do, whatever she wants in this scenario. And yeah, Shieldred comes down. It's going to just jump in this Bankbuster and get aggro.
What I think is amazing is that, if I'm not mistaken, if Brittney draws a land at all, ever, then she can just hardcast Atraxa.
Right.
Oh,
how about the cruelty? Okay, so now Brittney has all the pieces that she needs, right? She has the Fable in hand. If she gets to untap with that, then that's, the ability to put the Atraxa in the graveyard and play the cruelty next turn. Wow, things are going really, really well now for Brittney in this deciding game. She's actually just going to open with Cruelty of Gigs on chapter 1, let's have a look at your hand. What am I going to take? Oh, no need. She can get she can get BLMM's own Atraxa. That's amazing.
This is such a fantastic play, and you tutor up whatever you need. So this is just so obscenely
What does she
powerful.
need? Yeah, why not?
Like
Always just get another cruelty. Why not?
Oh, has this ever happened to you? I don't have enough cruelty of Gix in the battlefield. Well, this card is for you. You can get a second. And then guess what?
They should get you to write those jingles.
Guess what, Haiyue? When the second one comes down, you can fetch a third one with the ability. And then after that, you can fetch a fourth one after that.
Oh my goodness, tell me more.
Well, after that fourth one, you can fetch up, I don't know, regrowth or whatever. And then you can regrowth the first one and do it all over again. Yay!
Well, in my experience playing against these Reanimator players, what they usually do is just reanimate Atraxa and then find another cruelty off the Atraxa, which is really, really annoying. Really annoying. Here comes Wandering Emperor, and she's gonna make a 2/2. Okay, and look, it's not over, right? It's not over yet. There are a lot of great cards in hand for BLMMM. They have Archangel of Wrath that can maybe ping this token down if there's a land drop. Obviously, there's still no black mana, unfortunately, for at least that we know of for the Glisser in hand, but they're not under a ton of pressure right now. Of course, that is going to be changing when the cruelty gets going. Oh, that's still not a black land.
The Archangel, without being able to kick it, is just super rough. BLMMM could have waited, but the thing is that imminent Atraxa coming in is such a big threat that you have to just you have to deal with it.
Okay, here she is. Atraxa Grand Unifier. Look at the top 10. One card of each type. Artifact, it's going to be Bankbuster. Creature is going to be Blood type Harvester. Enchantment is going to be Fable. And we're going to see a Haunted Ridge as well. A massive refill here for Brittney. And yeah, she can get rid of some cards here as well. But honestly, her position looks pretty unassailable.
Wow. And there's double Atsushi in the hand too. So if Brittney wanted to just double up her advantage, knowing that BLMMM can't play Farewell, Atsushi Fable, just get the creatures on the board, just start trying to kill that Wandering Emperor. Because that's probably the most threatening thing on BLMM's board. Everything else is just kind of like, it's a vanilla creature.
Right.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Or just stick with it. I mean,
why not? Why not? Cruelty can come down. It's going to take care of the Shieldred. That is one way that BLM could come back from this position. And I think Brittney, despite the fact that she's only at 8 life, pretty aware, Kuro, that she has to also get the beats in.
I guess.
What do you think? Is there anything that BLMM and maybe a depopulate? Would that help?
Yes, kind of.
There's
a black source. I think BLMM's best draw is Leyline Binding or Ossification. Because if you kill the Atraxa, you exile it, and then it can come back later.
Right.
However, having relatively no hand to work with, combined with the fact that Brittney has not only another Atraxa in the yard and one in the hand just ready to go, not that BLM knows that per se, it's just... The only thing that Brittney needs to worry about is the fact that her life tool is at 5. That could actually be extremely dangerous if she's not careful. Of course, it's not really going to matter because this Atraxa is going to be lifelink. So at this point,
well, she's going to be safe regardless. Brotherhood's End is a pretty nice way of cleaning this board up and just making sure that she's not vulnerable to something like that Glisser coming in. And as you say, the lifelink on Atraxa, she's back up at 12, which is pretty healthy if you are in the market for closing games out. BLMM needs to find something, anything to deal with this Atraxa. Plaza of Heroes is still alive. There's Ossification, but this inclusion, this super sweet plaster of heroes giving Atraxa hexproof means that that is not going to be good enough. And it is Brittney who will be closing out this deciding game with Atraxa and advancing through to the top 8 of the VML. Congratulations to Brittney MTG. What a performance there after that pretty disastrous game number 1, having to take a mulligan to 4 and being able to find it, you know, within herself, calm down, chill out, and just complete the reverse sweep. Incredible stuff.
Absolutely. That was an intense match to watch, especially that first game, because both players really gave it their all, I could tell.
Yeah, and you know, as for BLMMM, congratulations as well, making it to the top 16 in your first ever VML run. That is no small feat. Like, this is a very, very difficult tournament. It is not easy to make it this far, as anybody who's played will tell you. It's week after week after week of grueling kind of grind and metagaming and testing and just keeping on top of everything, trying to predict what your opponent's going to do. So great stuff for making it here for sure. Wow, that was a marathon. I loved it. I love these grinding. I know, Kuro, I know you do as well. You're a control enthusiast. You're used to the 45-minute draw bracket, right?
Yes, I love. We're here to play Magic. Long games are playing Magic. That's how that works.
That's true. Got to get your money's worth. All right, so I think we just have the one match left this evening. We've seen some pretty sweet stuff already, but let's have a look at our final feature match. It is 2 very seasoned VML veterans and very, very strong competitive players in general. Sky Bauerschmidt, Sweeney on one side. They went 6-1 in their division number 1, and they have brought Rakdos Midrange. Anything that stands out to you about this particular build?
Honestly, Liliana the Veil and main deck Duresses.
Okay.
The last 2 Rakdos lists we've seen had 1 Duress in the main and 3 in the side, but this one is being very aggressive with the Duresses. I think this is based on their assessment of thinking that Tania would play Grixis, ... which she didn't. Honestly, that's rough, because against Grixis, Duress in the main board is actually pretty fantastic. Liliana is also a really nice tempo play. Kill their Graveyard Trespasser and then just get rid of their hand.
Right.
Other than that, it looks like a pretty stock. I almost said Grixis because I'm so used to Grixis. It looks like a pretty stock Rakdos list. Really excited to see how this goes.
You know, it's like dry Grixis. You know,
dry Grixis. Yes, exactly.
Dry Grixis. The thing that really intrigues me about this list as well are the 2 copies of Blade Core Serpent. I think the folks at home probably can't see it very well. It is hidden behind those braids on that list, but I love Blade Core Serpent. I know that Sky maybe would find it difficult to play the blue mana for it, but honestly, sometimes just a mind twist that comes in and hits them for 6 is kind of nuts, and I have been so impressed with this card ever since it started seeing play. So I'm eager to find out what is going on the other side of the battlefield here. Sky Bauerschmidt Sweeney going up against, I believe it is Tania the Bloodsower. They have been in every season of the VML, such a fierce competitor. Obviously played many times at GPs, at the PT level, 7-0 in division number 3, and she brought Esper Midrange.
Yes, this is the first Esper Midrange we've looked at today, and I think this is really cool. We have your Thalias, we have your Raffines, we have your Denix, we have your Shieldreds. And despite the fact that they're legendaries and you quote unquote shouldn't play more than a few because they'll die, Raffine is really the powerhouse that makes that work. Because if you have extras of literally anything, you just discard them and they get free counters. And so it makes the whole deck work. I love this.
Yeah, I love this as well. Esper is so sweet. You know, it's exactly what Tania said in that middle part of the slide there. They just want to go turn 1 Scrub, turn 2 Thalia, turn 3 Raffine. And honestly, every time that happens, it's pretty difficult to overcome if you are facing it down. Let's go down to the action. Let's see whether Tania can find those starts that she is looking for. These two are both incredible competitors. You know, Sky, one of our community mods in the VML as well. So both of them familiar with each other, familiar with this tournament, hoping to get that qualification. I know Sky is already qualified for the VML champs thanks to top 8ing the last season of the VML. That's just how good they are. But they really, really, of course, are hoping to get that regional championship invite as well. Both players with the keep. And Tania does not have the curve that she described, but does have Danik, Adeline, Ludovic, and Shieldred going on.
Those Duress is feeling so bad right now.
Oh
playing
my
against
god.
A deck that's like 90% lands and creatures.
Yeah, the Duresses are just straight up horrendous here. There's no targets whatsoever. I'm just having a quick peek, and there's 3 copies of Go for the Throat in the main. That's it. There's 3 cards that it could possibly even be relevant against. So Sky essentially holding a few just blank pieces of cardboard. Razorlash Transmogran is a nice threat, but that is not very good at blocking.
No, it is not. I would actually probably have Duress turn 1, knowing that there were possibly no targets, just so that I would be ready for whatever's coming up next. Because then Sky would have known about this Adeline that's coming down, for instance, and known about the Shieldred, for instance. And that could be like, okay, cool, I can play around this. Because if you can't discard a card with Duress, you may as well just use it as a terrible Gitaxian probe.
I mean, you know, sometimes needs must, but Go for the Throat is going to take care of Adeline before she can get out of hand and start making all those tokens. Fable coming down. What can Sky do?
Oh, I see. Sky was holding the Duresses to discard to Fable. It was actually, I like that.
That's
like it,
smart.
but that Lauren may destroy the Fable, unless Tania is thinking about getting the Shieldred down. I think Tania is really at an impasse here. Do you get the Shieldred to get that pressure, or do you play Lauren to make sure that Sky can't discard?
Right. And, you know, Tania says, I'm the aggressor. Here comes Shieldred. You're going to have to take 2 every time you draw a card. And, you know, sure, the Fable is going to get to do some looting, but Sky's going to have to pay 4 life for the privilege.
I think the Shieldred play is probably the better one than Lauren. I would have been tempted to Lauren and get that card advantage, but
I can tell. I know what you mean. Honestly, it's very tense because there's just so many different ways that this can play out. But Shieldred being such a massive kind of presence on the battlefield, gaining Tania life as well. And if Tania ever finds a Rafine, obviously Rafine and Shieldred is just absolutely nuts, as we know. Here comes the attack. That Razorlash is not doing anything. And the Goblin just has to jump in front as a chump blocker.
This is actually really good, but those Plaza of Heroes. Tania may just pass. Nope, so the Plaza no longer open. A Braid is able to target that thing, and Invoke Despair is the natural next phase of the game.
But here we go. Okay, so but does Sky have enough life to pay for Invoke?
What do you mean?
Oh no, but Shieldred has 3 damage. Oh, Shieldred has 2 damage marks on it. Okay, so
yeah.
Okay, I had not caught up. In my mind, I was like, oh, a Braid's gonna take care of Danik. That's not happening. Shieldred is down. Back over to Sky, who finds a Blackleaf Cliffs. That's not fantastic. Can use this Invoke to draw a few cards, but it is essentially just a divination here.
What the heck does Ludovic do again? When it flips, it becomes or something like that.
No, it's...
Oh, wait, no.
Okay.
Wait.
Yeah, okay. I'll tell you what it does. Okay, it's a 2/3 on his front side. When it ETBs or attacks with mills, and you can pay X and 4 mana to exile X creature cards from your graveyard and flip it over, and Ludovic becomes, I think, a copy of one of the creatures that you...
wait, that's problematic, because that's going to become a Shieldred, and then Sky just loses.
How about Tania just draws another Shieldred?
I mean, I guess.
Oh.
go for
here comes the
style.
attack.
And
I'm
not
also
to
not
push
convinced, by the way. I'm not convinced, by the way, that Ludovic can necessarily copy something if Denik is on the battlefield. I would have to get a judge to describe on that.
right,
But regardless, it is
target.
not going to matter because Sky is scooping it up. And, you know, they said the game one configuration was not right. And we saw that in action there.
Yeah, so just to follow up on what you just said, Ludovic's ability is not a targeting ability, so that would totally be fine for Denik.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah, so
nice.
Yeah, there's that.
Cool. So here are the changes. We saw the duresses can go out. Make sure there's the full complement of cut downs, the shielders, and soul transfers, I think, have come in from the sideboard. What else is going on here? Gix's commands are coming in. And it looks like Sky is actually keeping the top end of the curve with those Invoke Despairs, which I think is kind of controversial. Like, I've played a lot of these mid-range decks. I know I've spoken to a lot of people who have played these black-red based mid-range decks, and there is not, I think, agreement on whether or how many copies of the Invoke Despairs you should keep against Esper.
Yeah, it's certainly a meta call, and because if you know that they're packing things like Disdainful Stroke, it's obviously bad to play into that. But at the same time, it is such a powerful card that if you are able to resolve it and you can kill enough of their stuff, then it actually works extremely well. As we can see. So
let's see. Well, I'm just want to see what Tania's doing. The Thalias are coming out. Are you surprised by
that? A little bit, but at the same time, it's a 2-1, right? And that is probably stats-wise, that dies to cut down. And Tania knows that Sky is playing 4 cut downs in the main and is not going to take those out because it kills Denik, kills Talia, kills Harbin, kills Ludovic, kills Adeline as a 1/4. So
right.
I think that's the right choice, even though there's still some Thalias in there.
Well, there is the one Thalia, and Tania did draw it. So Thalia is available on 2, as are the other 2 drops you mentioned, Denik, Harbin, and Wedding Announcement, the follow-up as well out of the sideboard. And meanwhile, Sky is working with Cut Down, Soul Transfer, Shieldred, a Braid, and another land. Both players with nice hands here in our game number 2.
I really like the Soul Transfer on Denik eventually. Not right this second, but definitely sometime soon. Not being able to flash that back will be very pivotal, I think.
Oh, and you know, Sky actually has both an enchantment and an artifact right now. So they could potentially even do something like sacrifice the Blood-Tithe Harvester to kill something that comes down and then soul transfer and get it back. Which would be insane.
Well, yes, but if Denik's on the field, you can't return anything.
Yes.
Which is
so, honestly, Denik is so annoying.
Yeah.
Come on. Like, why won't you let us have any fun? Denik is a cop, confirmed. A Wedding Announcement comes down for Tania. And what are you getting rid of here if you're Sky?
I would be tempted not to get rid of anything, honestly. A Braid is probably my best bet because the cut down's pretty good already. But I honestly probably would not get rid of anything just because maybe Soul Transfer, actually. Denik being out is a thing. But then again, Exiling is sorry. Getting Shieldred out is really important. And honestly, I think all those cards were good. Whether or not you pitch a Braid or not it's fine.
Well, it's going to be cut down on the Denik. Sky wants to get full value out of that Soul Transfer, and I do not blame them. And here come the creatures, followed up with Shieldred.
Tania is in a rough spot right now because Tania has not drawn like a lot of the upper end creatures like Raffine or Shieldred or Urtai or even Adeline that help her get. Oh, Urtai comes in. Sorry, but like Tania still needs the Shieldred to combat that Shieldred because this is definitely gonna be a problem.
So Urtai is potentially a way of getting this children off the battlefield, but I think Sky would be so happy if they see Tania, you spending their whole turn using Ertai to kill Shieldred when they have that soul transfer in the hand.
Absolutely.
So what's the plan here if you're Tania?
Well, apparently it's Skrelv. I think Harbin getting in would be really good. I honestly might have just kept up 4 mana and had Ertai and hopefully gotten an Ertai against the Shieldred, because Shieldred's just a big threat and you absolutely need to address that.
Right.
I like Skrelv and Talia too, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Skrelv and Talia coming down definitely makes some amount of sense. Especially if you're thinking about cards like Invoke Despair that could be coming out. It makes a lot of sense, I think, to try and delay that. Here is that soul transfer, though. Sky's been holding this one in hand for a while, and finally is going to manage to get full value off of it. Goodbye, Skrelv. Hello again, Blood Tithe Harvester.
There it is. And here's the Goblin Shaman showing its true power, being a mana dork, and also 2/2.
Honestly, what more could you want?
If it was a 3/3.
Okay, that was a rhetorical question. I mean,
well, what if it came attached with an enchantment that flipped and turned into something that could copy non-legendary creatures?
Sounds like a great deal. I'll take 10. Meanwhile, Tania has taken a bit more than 10 life, down to 8 after this previous turn's attack. Ertai is finally coming down. It has to just get rid of that flipped reflection because, we have seen what happens when Reflection and Blood Tithe Harvester get going. It is not a pretty sight, especially if you're on the other side of the battlefield. But it looks like Sky might just be able to clean up this turn.
Yep. Blood Tithe Harvester killing the token is a win, I think. Wait, no, because Otawara can bounce the Shieldred, so it's not necessarily a win this specific turn. But it's close, and I have a hard time seeing Sky losing this game. Tania has to play Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, Tania has to magically play a land and draw the Farewell that's not in her deck. That's like really, like...
Right, that's like the only line, right?
Play a card that's not in your deck list. I mean, but really that kind of shows exactly how much board presence Sky has, is that the only out is a board wipe. That's just...
Yeah.
There it is.
And honestly, it just goes, like, Sky is so good at Magic. We've talked a lot, we talk a lot about these decks and the way they interact with each other. They definitely go really, really deep on their testing. And we've seen them in the feature match area a few times throughout this VML season. And every time I've just been so impressed with how tight they play, how resource-minded they are. And Tania's going to scoop this up. We are seeing another deciding game here in our final feature match of the evening. And I love it. I'm really happy we get to see a decider. I think this matchup deserves it,
Absolutely. And seeing all those Otawaras just in the hand being sad and not being able to bounce anything, I would be tempted to take out some of those lands, not going to lie. Because there's 3 of those, there's 3 Ganjos, and there's 2 Takenuma, which means that's basically so 5. They're good, but that's 5 lands that you can't play as lands, essentially. And that makes your deck only have 23 lands in it, which can be super rough, especially since apparently Tania decided to Plains out. Wow, okay.
Yeah, well, let's just see, because that might have started out in her... No, yeah, she decided the Plains out, so that's insane. Not insane in the sense of bad, insane in the sense of I love it. I am a limited player a lot of the time, and in limited, there's something we do a lot. Like in the different matchups, you side in a land or side out a land. And I love it when constructed players do the same thing. And kind of to round back to those lands you were talking about, Kuro, yes, they certainly fill that spell slot. But the thing is, when you have all of these legendary creatures, they can be so cheap and so annoying to play around. when your opponent sat there with one Rafine's tower up and they could literally have any of those channel lands available. It's impossible to know what to do sometimes.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, they're just extremely flexible and valuable. It's really not, it's really a no-brainer to include them.
All right, so Tania with a nice hand, cut down Harvester, Command, and Fable, and Tania with Scroll of Talia and Shieldred, and Sky with a nice hand too. I am so excited, although no red mana for Sky.
I don't like Sky's hand because it doesn't have red. That might be a problem.
If it's so hard, right? It's so difficult.
Yeah. If Sky top decks a red source in the next 2 turns, their hand is probably extremely good. But if Sky does not top deck a red source, then their hand is extremely terrible.
Oh, it's so hard. It's so hard.
As a limited player, I'm sure you understand the pain of keeping a 1-color hand. You're like, as
a limited player, I would snap keep that. If
really?
This is draft, yeah, 100%. You can't. Going down a card is so tough in limited.
That's fair.
But yeah, it's so different, right? Like the mindset you have to have. But this 6 is looking fine, right? Two removal spells. Yeah. Shieldred, Fable. Obviously, Sky does need to find that 3rd land, which, knock on wood, I'm not going to commentator's curse out, but is able to at least deal with a lot of stuff on the other side of the battlefield, although cannot deal with Scroll because that is an artifact, and go for the throat is not helpful there.
Oh, no. I think that first hand probably would have been better, actually, now that you mentioned it, because that cut down on Thalia would have been so important.
So here is Thalia.
No.
Oh my goodness, Sky really needs to fight. Oh no, that's a Giggs' command. That is, I should not have said anything about. Well, I know. Right. By the way, this is recorded, right? These players played earlier on in the week. Like, it's fine, but it's also it's so tough when you're in this position. And Tania with the Shieldred as the follow-up as well. That's just so much pressure. Blood-Tithe Harvester.
Actually, what if I told you that this was pre-recorded, but in the previous recording, Sky actually won this, but because you said that, the universe changed the recording so that Sky is.
Oh my god! So this is some like multiverse nonsense happening.
It's not nonsense if it's true.
Wow, Kuro, in another life, I would have loved doing laundry and taxes with you, but. Unfortunately, we're in this life and we're here to commentate on this match, and things are not going great for Sky.
Yeah, you can tell that. Yeah, you can tell by the scope of things how things are going for Tania when Tania decides, I'm just going to play the Siganjo as a land because I don't need it as removal. Scrub has to die. Oh no, Sky prematurely.
No. Oh no, what's happening here? I think Sky maybe just not seeing a way out is going to scoop it up. Really unfortunate stuff here for Sky. Wow, that game 3 obviously devastating for Sky, but great stuff for in general, in terms of both of the players, the way that they played, navigated through those first couple of games. And congratulations to Tania, who is going to be going through to the top 8 of this season. She's locking up her regional championship invite for the next cycle, and she's locking up her slot at the VML championships in August. So, Kuro, we saw some incredible magic today.
Absolutely. I think the Reanimator mirror, well, I mean, it's not really a mirror, but the Reanimator versus Control was probably my favorite one. Not just because it was a control deck, but because just seeing Atraxa get on the battlefield and seeing like almost like Titans fight each other is just really, really fun to watch.
Yeah, that was really cool. I think for me, the highlight was probably the Azorius Toxic deck, because I love tempo decks. I love Quench, and seeing that seeing that deck play out and seeing Talia like do so well with it was fantastic. That was fantastic. All right, well, that's it for our feature matches from the top 16. Congratulations to all of our players who made it to the top 8. Kuro, thank you so much for joining me this evening. You Is there anything that you would like to plug or tell people to find out about?
I mean, I don't really.
Find out about Kuro.
Yeah, find out about me. I'm there
Find
in the
about
internet
Kuro.
atmosphere. Yeah,
All
I'm on
right.
Discord. Let me in Discord.
And thank you, of course, to our sponsors at Wizards of the Coast. Thank you to Good Luck High Five, who are a fantastic Magic podcast made by Maria Bartoldi and Megan Wolf, two of my favorite people. Thank you to Phoebe, who is our producer, who has been working away behind the scenes as she does every single week. She's absolutely fantastic. Yes, Phoebe, you can jump in 100%.
So
Good
I
job
wanted
today.
to say very good job to everybody who has made it here to the final week of season 9. This has been an amazing thing, and I wanted to say, yeah, no, I was here since the very beginning. I will be here as long as they'll tolerate me and my constant, everything. But yeah.
Thank you so much, Phoebe. Really appreciate you, of course. And thank you, a massive thank you to the entire community, to all of our players, and of course to our wonderful audience for sticking it out with us. Next week, we will be back here with our top 8 stream, and it's going to be a very exciting one because unlike every other round where we do one round a week, the top 8 all plays out in the same week. So the players who make it, they're playing single elim, and from the top 4 onwards, it's going to be live here on stream. So starting next week from 6, you're going to see some recorded footage from the quarterfinals, and then you're going to see the semifinals and the finals live here on the broadcast next week to see who's going to lock up the prize pool towards the end of the tournament. All right. We will leave you, with thoughts for a wonderful weekend. Good luck to everybody who's playing in the regional championships this weekend. I know some of you out there are in San Diego waiting to shuffle up tomorrow morning. And from all of us at the VML, we will see you next week.
Woo!